Quazi here. Before there were stars, galaxies, or even atoms, there was only one thing, a singularity. Infinitely dense, timeless, boundless, then boom, the Big Bang. The universe didn't just expand, it inflated, faster than the speed of light. And in that first instant, time, space, energy, and matter were all born. But here's something wild. At that moment, everything in the universe, every particle, every vibration was the same thing. And even as the universe stretched apart, those particles never fully disconnected. That's what quantum physicists call entanglement. Two particles that start together, stay together, they stay connected. You change one and the other reacts instantly, even if they're separated by galaxies. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance because it breaks the rules of space-time, and yet it's been proven. In 1982, physicist Alan Aspect performed a now famous experiment. He separated entangled particles, and when he changed one, the other responded immediately. No delay, no signal, just connection. But how do we make sense of that? Well, picture a spider web stretching across the entire universe, not made of silk, but of energy, invisible, silent, yet sensitive to the slightest touch. Now imagine placing two marbles on opposite ends of this web. Tap one and the other one trembles. The web carries no signal. It simply is, always connected, always communicating. That's entanglement. Not through wires or waves, but through oneness. Now, here's the mind-bending part. If everything in the universe came from that one point, then all of it, everything, is still connected through that invisible web. That includes the particles in stars and the particles within you, your body, your brain, your consciousness. All part of the same unified field. And your consciousness might not just sit inside your head. Physicists like Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff propose that your thoughts, your awareness emerge from quantum activity happening inside of your brain. That your mind is not separate from this field. It's actually an expression of it, which means your thoughts, your focus, your emotion might ripple through this web the same way a tapped thread moves everything that it touches. The HeartMath Institute found that your heart produces an electromagnetic field that extends beyond your body, and that field interacts with the world around you. So when you focus your mind, when you align your thoughts with strong emotion, you're not just thinking in isolation, you are interacting with the field itself, with the structure of the universe. And when your inner state is aligned, you begin to notice the outside world shifting too. Synchronicities, opportunities, events that seem impossibly aligned. Maybe that's not luck. Maybe that's entanglement in action. Because you're not a separate observer in this universe. You are a node in the web. And when you vibrate, the whole web feels it. You're making a vibration in the field of the universe. So you're not just here to react to reality, you're actually here to influence it. And once you understand this, you stop waiting for life to happen, you actually start bending it. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you how to access the quantum field with your attention and manifest one particular sector of reality with your intention. To properly utilize attention and intention, we must understand three main keys: quantum superposition, how to visualize the desired sector of reality, and how to use affirmations, your words, to solidify that desired sector of reality. So with that, let's get started. The very first thing we have to understand how quantum entanglement works and how to use the quantum space to create any outcome that we want is the principle of quantum superposition. The principle of quantum superposition states that before observation, every single possible combination that can be manifested, it already exists as a potentiality in this space. It's a potential. However, the act of attention is what solidifies one particular sector of reality. The very reason you are experiencing this particular sector of reality where you are with the job that you're working on, the business that you have, and the reality you're experiencing is because of your thought energy, aka your attention, and your intention. Because of that, you're manifesting one particular sector of reality. If the parameters, the frequency of your thought energy corresponded to another sector of reality, then that's what you would have manifested. So if we were to oversimplify it, that's the way I would put it. So that's the biggest driver that you have that will determine which sector of reality that you manifest, okay? Now, if we were to really look at that, you would notice that there are different forks in the road that lead to different lifelines. So if you look back into your past, there's always a great story I like to use. I believe I got this from Tony Robbins. He uses this example a lot. He says that in a household, there was an abusive father, drunkard, completely abused the two twin boys, and the twin boys, identical upbringing, similar in age. And after years of abuse, one of the twin boys ended up like the father. And one day an interviewer went to that boy and asked him like, hey, how come you ended up homeless? You ended up broke. You ended up abusing narcotics and drugs and alcohol. How come you ended up this way? He answered, well, my father was this way. What other way would I be? The interviewer then went to the other twin and asked him, wow, you are incredibly successful. The other twin was incredibly successful. He became a CEO of a massive company. He has a happy family life, great wife, great kids, everything one could ever dream of, right? The American dream. The interviewer asks him, like, how come you ended up this way? His answer was, well, how could I not have? My father was this way. They both had the same answer, but a different meaning to how they perceive that event. So your perception, your meaning to that event is what will encourage where you move. Words are one thing. See, both of those brothers said the same thing. Oh, how could I be any other way? My father was this way. But they contextualized it. They internalized it differently. So do not pay attention to words. Words are semantics. Okay? Words are semantics. Focus on the realization behind the words. Okay? So if I were to demonstrate this, if you look at this as your current reality, these are three different, just to give you an example, three different possible combinations of realities that can be manifested. Okay? If you are neutral in your perception, you look at an event and you observe it, you let it exist as it is, you are neutral, there is no charge, you would move along the same lifeline that you are. If you were to perceive it positively and attune it to your goal, which is what I'm going to show you, if you have a positive attitude to it, then you will shift to positive lifelines because now your thought energy is corresponding to the parameters of that lifeline where you are experiencing a positive outcome. For example, if something negative happened to me, but then I perceive it as positive, like somehow this is leading me to my goal of making $1 million. Somehow this is a blessing in disguise. What do you think would happen? You would shift to positive lifelines. You would switch to a lifeline where reality would say, oh, you think this is positive? You think this is going to lead you to becoming a millionaire? Well, here you go. The mirror of reality doesn't discriminate. It doesn't judge. It simply gives you more of what you cultivate in your internal world. It just reflects the image that you're presenting. Simple. And the mirror doesn't smile before you do, right? Everything that you're seeing in the mirror of reality that's being reflected in your external world is a past image that you had presented to the mirror. Okay? Now, if I had a negative attitude to that event of something terrible happening, me losing a lot of money, and I said, see, this always happens to me. Bad things always happen to me. Well, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to happen is the mirror of reality will say, there you go, bad things always happen to you. Here you go, more bad things. And then you just keep going through one unfortunate event after another. If you've been stuck in this kind of loop where bad thing after bad thing has been happening, things have been breaking down and all these negative circumstances are happening, it's because you're stuck in a rut, you're spiraling, right? That's the word, you're spiraling. And because you're spiraling, you keep experiencing unwanted events one after another because you are in that lifeline of broken things, unfortunate events and unfortunate circumstances. What needs to happen is you need to shake up your reality so you can shift to corresponding positive lifelines. So, what actually causes one particular sector of reality to manifest versus another? Well, the key to manifesting one particular sector of reality is understanding the quality of your attention. We can have three types of attention. We have positive attention, negative attention, or neutral attention. Positive and negative attention are polar, okay? So these two, this and this, are polar. Neutral attention is non-polar. So if you look at all of the yogis and people who have embarked on the spiritual path, they're not interested in creating reality. They're not interested in manifesting a particular outcome. The only outcome they want to manifest is dissolution of all, right? So they participate in this path through a neutral lens. They remain as the witness, they watch and observe because they're no longer interested in accumulating any kind of karma. They want to dissolve all karma altogether and they want to annihilate life. They want to prevent from reincarnating. And so as long as we entertain our desires, we will keep reincarnating to keep experiencing these desires. However, if you look at one of the oldest yogic books that exist, okay, the one that was known as the origin of yoga, how that book begins is it says, and now yoga. You've tried the drugs, you've tried the women, you've tried the money, none of it's given you fulfillment, and now yoga. It's the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. If you look at the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, Patanjali was this great sage. He wrote the Yoga Sutras, which is literally modern yoga as we know it today. He began the book with, and now yoga, okay? Because he knew that everyone who's going to come and try this will have been so deeply unfulfilled by the empty nature of goal achievement. Has it ever happened to you, you've achieved your deepest dreams, and after you achieve it, you're like, oh, that was cool, that's it? That's what happened to me when I finally achieved my first $100,000 month. I made my first $100,000 month of my business, and I was like, oh, cool, I achieved it. That's it? I was expecting some crazy fireworks to happen and have lifetime fulfillment, but it lasted for that euphoric moment lasted for like a grand total of 9 seconds. And then I was like, shit, now I gotta make it again and again and again and again and again. So then that's when I woke up to these deeper teachings like, okay, there is something that's beyond material. However, you can't do that until your heart's deepest desires are actually fulfilled. So you need to embark on this journey and not be ashamed of your goals and your desires and actually work towards fulfillment of these desires. If you read Autobiography of a Yogi, you'll notice that the main character, Paramhansa Yogananda, his guru, I believe it was Lahiri or it was Swami Sri Yukteswar, when he went to get initiated, his guru's guru initiated him like this. He invited him to the Himalayas, and in the Himalayas, he conjured up this mansion, a palace made of gold. And he was like, whoa. And he said, this palace is yours. I'm going to initiate you in this palace. And he went into this palace and he was like, why does this palace exist? He's like, his guru said, this palace exists because in your past lifetime, you expressed a desire to live in a palace made of gold. So I've conjured up this palace made of gold so that your karma is fulfilled. Therefore, now you can fully embark on the spiritual path without any kind of reservation. And that's what happened to him. And he became one of the greatest sages known to man. So for you in your journey, you cannot sidestep your goals. You have to own your desires. You have to give yourself permission to own your heart's true desires. Unless and until you attain it, you will always wonder what if, okay? There will always be a shred of you, a part of you that will want to reincarnate, that won't be fully sincere to the spiritual path. Therefore, I encourage you to follow the polar path of putting a positive meaning towards your outcomes, towards events that have happened in your life. And when you attribute that positive meaning to it, you'll shift to positive lifelines, and soon, very quickly, you will see that it will be fulfilled. And that's why we teach our clients to attain their goals, because once you attain your goals, you can only see past the illusion then. Okay? So attention is what causes movement. However, the two control functions you possess, again, attention is one of them, and intention, that's the other one. What do I mean by attention and intention? What attention does is it singularly focuses on one particular sector of reality. It makes that potential actually be a target you move towards. So if you look at the mind, it works in a servo mechanism. Whatever target we place, somehow the subconscious mind finds a way to get there. Kind of like a heat-seeking missile. It makes some deviations from the path, but it eventually corrects because the goal is held top of mind. So when we learn to place attention to what we want, what we look at is looking back at us. Whatever you're looking at is looking back at you. To give you an example of this, I had a client of mine who wanted to manifest abundance in his business. He wanted to manifest, a tremendous amount of income growth, and he was doing okay, but what he was noticing was his business wasn't too profitable and he was burning out. Right? He was stuck in this business for 15 years, doing something that he initially liked, but he just couldn't get out of. But his focus every single day was on the low profitability. He wasn't making that much profit. And so he would find that at the slightest signs of a low profitable month or losing some money, he would panic and he would get into scarcity mode. And he would, think about his bills not being paid and him going into debt and him, like, just the worst case scenario. He would ruminate on that worst case scenario. And what was happening was his attention was on what he didn't want. And I asked him, well, you want to become this millionaire, you want to, manifest this successful business where you work less as well and you have a great team. How come you're focusing on the things that you don't want? What if you spend 51% or more of your time focusing on all of the abundance you actually want to create? And so he started putting images around him of vacations that he would take with his family and, all of the things that he actually wanted in his life rather than what he didn't want, the business success that he wanted, hiring the team that he wanted, and waking up, feeling that he didn't have to do anything today. He could just choose to take the day off because everything was taken care of. And now he's moving towards that. And this all happens because where you place your focus. What you're looking at is looking back at you. Okay? That's how attention works. Now, intention is a very, very interesting quality. Intention is what causes movement along that lifeline. Attention is what makes that lifeline possible in the first place. It causes a shift in the lifeline. Intention is what bridges the gap between where I am currently and where it is I would want to go. So you see this arrow here that signifies someone's journey from current to positive. That is done through intention. So intention can be defined as the resoluteness in your decision to have and to act. As such, there's two main categories of intention. We have action in the physical sense. There's physical action that you take. So when I set a goal to grow my business, I'm taking physical action. I'm doing all of the tactics, I'm building the website, I'm running the advertising, I'm selling to customers, I'm delivering the service to customers, and I just grind, I hire the team members, etc. That's physical action. Physical action is very, very limited. Do you want to know why? Physical action only acts within the limits of your current comfort zone. So physical action only does what's here. There is something known as mental action. Mental action. What does mental action do? Mental action creates the unseen, makes the unseen seen. So the unrealized sectors in this quantum space that haven't already manifested, when you take mental action, and I'm going to show you how to do this, when you take mental action, it creates pathways for that to become manifest in the physical reality. So for example, when I started, I had no clue what I wanted. I had a slight idea of what would make my life a continual vacation, but I definitely knew what I didn't want. I didn't want to be stuck at that 9-to-5 job, selling my soul to the corporate machine, right? I didn't want to be stuck there for 40 years and then when I'm 65, retire with what little vitality I have left, and only then I can start living my life. What I wanted was a life of freedom, to be able to travel when I wanted to spend time with my family when I wanted to, and make a ton of money doing it. So I just focused on that. I took mental action on that, which is what I'm going to show you. When I started to take mental action on that, paths started to show up for me that led me to that. It's like the series, the chain of events. You go from current to the next, to the next, to the next, until I'm here today, with a multi-7-figure business doing what I love, right? And I can work 4 hours a week if I wanted to. So all of that happens because of this phenomenon of mental action. What is mental action? Physical action is pure doing. Mental action is more being. If you're familiar with this, then you know that one of the deepest laws of reality is that being leads to doing, which leads to having. This should be your first focus. This should be your second focus. And then as a consequence, the third focus of having will follow. That can only happen when you begin at the top with being, with understanding who you must become at the identity level, who you must be to effortlessly accomplish your dream life, to effortlessly live your dream life as a continual vacation, okay? So in order to do that, we have to understand the next two things. How to engage our visual and auditory senses. So this is where visualization comes in. The next part I want to talk to you about is the method of visualization, which was by far one of the most powerful methods for me when I started, because I'm a very visual person, and also for over 1,500 clients that we've coached. Once you learn how to correctly, properly visualize, you're going to see how quickly your life turns around. Because when we learn to visualize, we're literally taking whatever we visualize, the possible quantum event that hasn't yet manifested, and we solidify it into physical reality. And in that, there are two main types of visualizations. I want to share with you. Okay, so before I get to that, I wanted to let you know you can access our exclusive email list. All you need to do is go to realitycreator.com/list to be able to access that. As soon as you join our list, you'll get access to the free Identity Shifting Bootcamp, a 5-video series. People who haven't even started to work with us just have gone through these 5 videos and all of the resources in there, and they've already gotten massive results. So all you need to do is go to realitycreator.com/list and you'll get access to that and 3 other bonuses every single week from my private newsletter, where I can share stuff that I can't really share on the channel because of YouTube's platform limitation. So go ahead and access that. Let's get to number 2, how to correctly visualize. Okay, so I really want you to pay very, very close attention to this. There was a study that was done in 1995, a Harvard medical school study, and they found that the nervous system can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. Just think about how powerful that is. When we visualize, our nervous system literally cannot tell between what's imagined and what's real. It thinks everything is real. 80% of our sense perception, for people who aren't blind, is visual. We're seeing creatures, okay? We see in order to feel. So when you learn how to properly visualize, you're going to see how fast the movement towards your ideal life is. If you look at every single successful celebrity, performer, athlete, they talk about the law of attraction or manifestation, right? Like if you look at Jay-Z's interviews, if you look at not the most popular character right now, maybe Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos and all of these people who are super, super wealthy, what do? They have a very clear vision of where they would want to go. And I remember when I was doing my summer internship in, my last 2 years of college, I was supposed to go into this full-time job that I was absolutely miserable in. They threw an event, and at this event, the CEO of the whole company was there. And this is a multi-billion-dollar company, right? And the CEO is there, and I'm imagining this is probably going to be like a very stressed out CEO. He's probably going to be very, very frantic and all over the place because he's tasked with making so many decisions, day-to-day decisions, right? And so that's what they hyped it up, and that's what I remember like expecting to see of him. And we go to this bowling alley with the CEO because they wanted to really pepper up all the interns because they're going to make him an offer to the good ones, and I was fortunately one of them. And I meet the CEO, I shake his hand. The guy's like towering, 6'5", older gentleman. He's like maybe in his late 60s, maybe mid to late 60s, which also I found kind of surprising because typically that's when people retire. But this guy was youthful, very, very youthful, and he had a very calm presence about him, very calm and collected. And so I had this interaction with him, and I was very shocked at his demeanor because that wasn't what I was expecting. So afterwards I went home, and back then I was working on starting up this YouTube channel, I believe. And I was just curious. I was like, well, what gives? How is he like calmer than I am? He has like a million different decisions, a million different things to do, and probably people badgering him all day and like blowing up his phone. Runs a multi-billion-dollar company, really. And so I reached out to him. I wrote him an email. I was like, there is no way this guy's going to respond to me. He probably gets a million different emails. So I wrote him an email, and I was like, Steve, what's up? What's up, dude? How are you so chill? So in all seriousness, I asked him, like, hey, I noticed your demeanor, and I was really expecting that you would be the stressed out person. How are you so calm and, so cool and so collected in your demeanor? Do you have some kind of meditation practice? Because back then I was reading Eckhart Tolle, Getting into the Power of Now, and all of these works, they really resonated with me. And so I asked him, like, maybe you've read some of this stuff, right? He's like, no, I don't have a meditation practice or anything. I just have a very clear vision of where I would like to see this business and where I would like to see my personal life. And when I have that vision, I can rest easy, and I have certainty, I have confidence. Because confidence comes from what? Clarity. When you're clear, confidence naturally ensues. You don't have to fake it. When you're uncertain, there is always a lack of confidence. You feel insecure. You feel this chaotic energy in your body. It's not calm, collected energy. But when your mind is still, you have a clear vision, a clear target, like we talked about. Not two conflicting visions, not two conflicting parts of your brain, but one part of you, one identity, one vision, one mission. It's pretty easy to be committed to that, right? It's pretty easy to move the fastest path towards that goal. And because of that, that's one of the greatest lessons I had learned by the time I was like 19, 20. So After that lesson, I really started to research this, like what gives clarity, what makes these successful people successful. And I started to notice that it's vision work. Every single client of ours who has become successful has used this. 80% of your sense perception is vision, visualizing. Every single successful person has a vision, has a dream. I had a dream that one day, right? They always talk about a dream and a vision. So how does one envision properly? How do they do it? How can we implement it? Well, after studying so many different cultures, so many different ancient traditions, and so many of these elite, secret, hidden organizations, this is what I found. This is how they do it. But before I get to that, one of our clients recently used this, David, and he manifested living in an island. He envisioned living in this island ever since he started to work with us. April 1st, 2025, his vision came true, and now he's living on an island. Something cool that he just posted I wanted to share with you. But let's get to the different types of visualization that will allow you to solidify, to manifest your dream life into reality right now. So the very first type of visualization is what I call goal visualization. What does this mean? Every morning and night, we want to visualize a couple of different scenes, as many scenes as you want, of our ultimate life. What would make your life a continual vacation? That is one question you want to ask. A lot of people have goals because they want to prove something to someone. Oh, when I get this, then the Joneses will respect me. Then I will have the respect of my father. Then I will have the respect of my, all the girls that dumped me, or all the guys that disrespected me, or whatever it is, right? They do it to please someone else. They do it to please society. Then I will be respected, right? It's not for them. They want to please someone else. Please see this. When you're trying to manifest a goal because you want to please someone else, you are trapped by society or an egregore or a pendulum, right? It's not your goal. It's a foreign goal. You've been taught to want this. And when you make the money, that's when they will respect you. That's when all of the kids who bullied you in high school or middle school, I used to be this way. I got bullied growing up, and I thought, when I'm going to be successful, I'm going to show them. But the more I thought about that, the more I came from a negative energy, a trapped energy, and the more I stayed stuck, right? So I had to work through those inner demons, forgive myself, reparent myself, so that I could come to this equanimous place and come from a pure state, a cleaner fuel, if you will. So morning and night, you want to visualize what makes your life a continual vacation. For me, that was waking up in my mansion in LA, next to the partner of my dreams. I'm driving the Ferrari. I have a really nice house. I'm living on top of the hills. And then I go down the stairs. This house has neutral tones, kind of like my house right now. And then I go outside. The car is parked in the garage on the right. And then I forget the keys. And my wife or girlfriend at the time, she throws me the keys to the red Ferrari. And then I drive off into the town. I visualized that every single night until I became a millionaire. True story. Now I could choose to live in LA or in that mansion in California, but I just don't want to. So I live in a mansion in Florida. Some people call it poor man's LA, but I call it a more practical place to live. I like Florida a lot. So continual vacation. What makes your life a continual vacation? Just think about that. And the key here is there has to be no conditions attached. When I visualized that scene, I had no girlfriend. I had no wife, no partner. I had no money. I had some money, but I was just in college, right? And I had no clue what to do with my life. I had no clue how I was going to make that money. So I didn't visualize working or doing something to earn the money. Yeah, sure. Sometimes I visualized like somehow I'd be earning money from my laptop. That's all I visualized. I only focused on what I knew, okay? Because a lot of our clients, when they come in, they ask like, oh, but Quazi, I don't know how I'm going to get there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you're going to get there. What matters is what you want. That's it. You're an order placer. You place the order, God delivers it to you. And from time to time, you have to remind the waiter or God like what it is you want. Because the more you keep visualizing it, guess what you're doing? You're systematically turning that image in your mind's eye. You are attuning to that target lifeline more and more. Every time you do it, it gets stronger. Every time you stop doing it, the signal gets a little bit weaker. So we want to keep strengthening the signal. We don't want to choke reality and like force it by keeping on visualizing every 2 seconds and then walking with our eyes closed. No, quite the contrary. You have this vision. You are very involved in this vision. You take immense joy in visualizing this goal, but you're not attached to it. Do you see the difference? I don't need it. I want it. It's okay if it happens. It's okay if it doesn't, but this is what I want. And you visualize this every night. And what happens when you start visualizing this every night, when you're attuned to that lifeline, synchronicities start to happen. Opportunities start to show up. And it's not necessarily that opportunities start to show up, you start noticing it. Because there is this thing in your subconscious mind, an organ in your subconscious mind called the reticular activating system. When it gets primed with the correct goal, it starts noticing opportunities, ways to get to this goal. So when you find those ways, 1 or 2 ways, that forms the basis of your process visualization. Process visualization. By the way, one of our clients, Caleb, recently used this and he grew his e-commerce business from 3K a month to 60K a month. Now he's on track to hitting 100,000 in profit a month. This, goal and process visualization. When you find the path that will lead you to your goal, now you spend most of your time visualizing the process. What is visualizing the process, you may ask? This is where a lot of people have misconceptions. They don't do this properly, so they don't get results. Process visualization is focusing on bridging your current where you are to that next step, just the next step. Bridging the gap. Bridging the gap. What do I mean by that? Here's what I mean by it. When you visualize the goal, you get insights into process. When I visualized my mansion in LA, guess what happened? When you visualize the goal, you get insights into the process. When I visualized my mansion in LA, while I was at my summer internship, what happened was I had the idea to start a YouTube channel. I had 2 friends at the time, Arlen and Raphael. They both had YouTube channels. And I had a eureka moment. Just start a YouTube channel. Let's see what happens. So I visualized starting a YouTube channel. I visualized making some great videos and having people comment, love them, share them, and just me sharing my knowledge. I had no idea how I was gonna monetize my YouTube channel, but I just had this vision that, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel. You're going to get these visions when you're attuned to your goal. And so that's what I visualized. And then I had someone reach out to me for coaching, and boom, more eureka moments. Like, oh my God, I could sell coaching. I didn't even know that. I love selling coaching because I am a teacher at heart and I love helping people transform their lives. I've always loved tutoring, and the fact that I get to get paid for it is awesome. So then I started offering coaching services and I started working with clients and getting them great results. And I was like, wow, this is it. And I visualized me getting more and more clients and getting them better and better results and growing a business. And I was so happy, so passionate about that. And so every single day, that's what I visualized. Growing this business, getting better clients, serving more clients, having updated, better offers. Just last weekend, we had an in-person event and I could have never imagined it. It was an absolute blast. We had, 4, 5 of our mastermind clients fly down to South Florida, and we did a 2-day in-person event. And in the evening, we just hung out. We played games. We, played pool, played Uno, and it was a blast. And it was at this villa, and I hosted that whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is something I really want to do. So I visualized that too. So whatever you visualize will come to life, but you have to learn how to correctly visualize it, which is by using goal and process visualization and systematically doing it. So now that goal and process visualization are tools in your arsenal, the next thing we got to do is fulfill the auditory sense, okay? Because the auditory sense is the next big part of how we reprogram our subconscious mind. And in order to do that, we need to understand how to use affirmations. So before I get to affirmations, here's one thing I want you to do right now. Go to the comment section and write down one takeaway you have. So I really want you to engage in active learning here, not just passively consume this video. So anything that you've just taken away out of everything, I would love to know the main thing that's top of mind for you right now. So go ahead and write down your top takeaway. Just write top takeaway this and just do a short explanation of that. That would really help me understand how to deliver, give you better content that's more relevant, but also let me know that you are actively listening and you're going to apply this, because knowledge without application is useless. So let's get to affirmations. Now in affirmations, I'm about to share with you something that is going to change your life forever. And I discovered this in 2019. After being able to achieve all of my little goals, I noticed that this is the pattern, this is the cycle that everything follows. And this is what we teach our paying clients, the very first thing they learn when they join our paying programs, okay? And this is what's known as the self-reprogramming cycle. If you have read some of Napoleon Hill's work, especially Outwitting the Devil, there's a concept that was a big epiphany moment for me where he talks about the law of hypnotic rhythm. Once someone enters the law of hypnotic rhythm, it's very difficult to break them free. It's kind of like being in the matrix, getting stuck in the matrix, and it's very difficult to break them open, break them free out of the matrix, okay? But the only way I have ever found to doing this, no one has ever too far gone, is through this self-reprogramming cycle. How does this work? Initially, if you look at how reality works, there are thoughts or stimuli that we're presented to every single day. There is an incoming thought that we have. What we do with that incoming thought is we react to it with feeling. We charge it up with feeling. So Trump's tariffs are ruining the economy, political landscape is in shambles, bad things are happening, bad things are going to happen. Oh no, I'm scared, I'm afraid. Nothing does this thought feeling conjunction, nothing intensifies it as much as fear. Fear is the greatest driver of all human action. Fear has always been used by the elite and by dictators and by monarchs throughout the ages to keep you stuck in this state of panic, because when they induce fear in your heart, they can drive you to doing the things that they want you to do. It's as simple as that. So the smart people who are broken free of this hypnotic rhythm, they're not like sheep. They're free of the matrix. They're awake. They're awakened. They can see past the illusion. They can see what's happening. They don't need to subscribe to the news. They don't follow it. They look for opportunities. The wealthiest people, the wealthiest companies have come from recessions. Have you ever noticed this? Do your research. The wealthiest companies have come from the toughest economic times, because these times too will change and it's going to go on the uptrend. Okay? So thought is energized by feeling. When we give a thought and a feeling enough energy, for example, your thought is, now is the worst time to start a business. Look at all this proof. Or I'm not the type of person who starts the business. Reality will show you more evidence. Here's proof. I'm not a confident enough person. I feel like an imposter. I always keep getting in my way. I can't make videos. I don't feel confident in my videos. No one's going to listen to me. What makes me good enough? You charge it up with this feeling. So when a thought feeling has enough energy, it becomes a belief. A belief is simply a worldview and a self-view. This is how I view the world, and this is how I view myself in it. When the thought feeling reaches a certain enough intensity, a certain amount of energy, when it becomes this belief, immediately, as soon as it forms a belief, what the belief does is it programs our RAS. Our reticular activating system gets primed with that belief. For example, my belief of now is a terrible time to start a business and I'm not a good enough entrepreneur, business owner, content creator to be able to make videos and start a business. I'm not a good enough video maker. This is the example I use because this is something I went through myself, and that's how and I'm going to show you how to overcome it. Your RAS gets primed with this. You start looking for evidence. You start looking for confirmation. You look for proof. Where is it? Where is it? See, look, one person left a bad comment. Have you ever noticed, maybe if you're not a social media creator, you can't relate, but for me, like when I get a ton of positive comments, I used to focus on the negative one, the one negative comment. One customer said anything bad about me, it would ruin my whole day. One prospective customer said anything bad about me, it would ruin my whole day. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for problems, right? Because that's how my RAS used to be primed. So for you, maybe 99 things in your life are going well, but you keep focusing on the one thing that isn't, and you keep ruminating on that. That's because of this effect. Thought, feeling, belief, RAS, now you look for confirmation. When you find enough confirmation, you find enough belief, now that belief that you initially had, when it finds a lot of confirmation, it becomes a conviction. You no longer question it. We question all of the beliefs except the ones we hold to be dear. Those we will never question. And those are the ones that run our lives. When it becomes a conviction, someone is effectively trapped in the law of hypnotic rhythm. How do we change this? How do we override this? This is how. There is an incoming thought, but there is also an outgoing thought, a conscious thought that you choose. So an overriding thought would be, let's say Quazi is a good video maker, or Quazi is a good entrepreneur. Now you charge it up with feeling. You have enough feeling, you visualize it, you affirm to yourself, this is what it feels like to be a successful entrepreneur. Imagine tons of money coming in, customers getting served. Imagine you're a trader, imagine having successful trades day after day and making tons of profit, and your trading strategies executed with confidence. Your mindset is sharp. You don't react, you just execute. You charge it up with enough feeling that it becomes a belief. You just need to do this to get here. And now the next thing you need to do is look for confirmation. Consciously look for proof of the tiniest things that are happening. If you look at the most successful people, they're incredibly biased. They only see what they want to see, right? And so all of the people that I mentioned to you, some of the richest people in the world. I read Elon Musk's biography. His ex-wife described it as, this is Elon's world and we're living in it. Their frame of reality is so strong. It's so strong. No one questions it. No one questions it. Your frame of reality has to be that strong. So you consciously look for confirmation. Instead of unconscious confirmations, you do conscious confirmations. We're turning this whole self-reprogramming cycle into a conscious process. So if I have made the intention to be a good video maker, where is proof? I notice all of the positive comments. I notice the one part of the video where I appear very, very confident, very, very intelligent, okay? And I keep focusing on that again and again, and I strengthen my RAS with that. And so with that, we're strengthening the gaps, right? We're increasing belief. We're priming our RAS correctly because we're beginning here. We're just doing all the active parts we can do. The thought and the feeling we can do. The belief, maybe it's not fully within our control, but the confirmation, we can consciously look for confirmation. We're overriding this process. And eventually you'll see one day you're going to wake up and you'll start to get all of these positive comments, and you'll see that that voice in your head that used to doubt you, it's gone. It's no longer there. You found sufficient proof. And now what's happened is you can't recognize who you were 3 months ago. Your life has changed so dramatically and so quickly. You are completely unrecognizable. So let's talk about 3 main tools that you're going to use. 3 main affirmation tools that you're going to use. And this is the reason why people aren't successful with affirmations, by the way. They keep saying, I'm confident, I'm a great video maker, blah, 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 but they don't believe it. There's a cognitive dissonance. They're saying something, but they don't quite believe it. How do you get yourself to believe it? This is how. Number 1, you have to do your affirmations in the third person. What do I mean by that? You're playing a character. You don't quite believe this character is you yet, but you are playing a character. So when I change my affirmations from first person, I am this, to Quazi is the kind of character that does this. Quazi is a great video maker. Quazi attracts clients like a magnet. This is the character that I'm playing, okay? Because at first you have to admit you are stepping into this character until it becomes you. Now, the reason why I do this is because I have a spiritual path and I also have a reality creation manifestation path. The spiritual path, the I like to have it untainted. And this is what we recommend to all of our clients. Awareness. I am is pure. I am cannot be bounded by I am the kind of, you don't insult I am by saying I am a millionaire. You know, no, you're actually keeping it poor. I am is so much beyond, so much more than millionaire. You can say Quazi is a millionaire because Quazi is this character. Quazi is this character that we formed and we're creating. So at least create the character that you want to embody and experience consciously. That's how you have the best of both worlds. And when it's time to discard the character and to step onto the path to enlightenment, you have the choice in doing that. And that's why I do my affirmations in third person. Our clients do them in the third person. And that's why they get great results by embodying this character. Okay? So number 1, third person affirmation. Quazi is the kind of person that. Number 2, identity affirmations. This, I can't emphasize how important this is. Quazi attracts money like a magnet versus Quazi is the kind of person that, right? So both are okay, but the one that wouldn't be okay is Quazi does this, Quazi does that. You have to imagine that it's actually Quazi is the kind of person that. This is the identity I'm stepping into. If I were to step into the Quazi identity, this is what I would get. I would get attracting money like a magnet. I would get serving customers and getting them amazing results. I would get amazing team leader. So I begin all of my affirmations with an adjective, a statement of what Quazi is. Quazi is a money magnet, okay? Or Quazi is a powerful leader. And I use expressive language that activates your nervous system, that activates your creative faculties, instead of keeping them boring, like, oh, Quazi's a money. No, when I read it, I feel something. Okay, so Quazi is a fiery soul and spirit. You know, it makes you go, oh man, this makes me feel powerful. This makes Quazi feel like this powerful character. Man, Quazi is so awesome and so amazing. So you want to create your affirmations with powerful language, and you want to create them with adjectives. Describe the character you're wanting to become. If you want to make a lot of money, well, what's the adjective that is a money maker? You see what I'm doing? That's what identity affirmations are. And the last thing is confirmation. This is where people really miss out. Now, your biggest misconception here, just like with visualization, you might be like, oh, I can't visualize, what do I do? Use affirmations. If you can't visualize, you have aphantasia or you have a tough time visualizing, then I would recommend using affirmations. However, you might now be asking, well, if I'm using affirmations and I want to look for proof, confirmation of my reality becoming, but I can't see anything. I can only see things going wrong. Well, you can only see things going wrong because you're not focusing on what you want. 99 things go right in your life for you to have the one thing go wrong. Just think about that. Any situation you're in right now, you could be like in a war zone, getting tortured. Your life could be a lot worse than what it is right now. Just think about that. We're living in a time where the greatest monarchs didn't have access to what we have access to. We press a button, our food gets delivered to our door. How insane is that? If you actually think about it, that's kind of insane. But we don't appreciate that because we take it for granted. So there is confirmation of your reality happening everywhere. You just have to look for it. You wanted to become an attractive person, you stood at line on Starbucks and someone looked at you for 2 seconds longer than usual. That's a confirmation that you are becoming an attractive person. Proof. You made the intention of becoming a better video maker. One person comments. One person comments. I have a client who looks at the 99 people who don't comment. Like, oh, but this didn't get 1 million views. You just started. Dude, you just started. Look at all the views you are getting. You got 100 views on this video. Do you know what it looks like to pack out a room with 100 people? Do you have any idea what that looks like? Look at the glass as half full rather than half empty. And I promise you, whatever you focus on, you will compound. If you feel grateful for the little views you have, you'll keep getting more and more views. If you are grateful, if you bless the little money that you have, Florence Scovel-Shinn talked about this all the time. She said she had a client who blessed the pennies that he or she had and gave it to her. I bless this penny and I give it to you. She accepted it and said, may this multiply for you tenfold. And that's exactly what it did. That's the law of giving and receiving. If you want to receive something, give it first and you'll receive the very thing you gave in an disproportionate quantity, because the energy is what gets the flow going. Just like that. When you focus on what you want and what you already have, you'll get more of what you want and what you have. What people focus on is what they don't want and what they don't have. Anytime you find yourself, your attention going to what you don't want and what you don't have, center it immediately. Wake up, look at yourself, look at your reality, center it, shift attention to what is wanted and what is had. That's it. That's the secret to all of this. One of my clients, Shams, did this with his auto detailing business, took it from 4K a month to 30K a month. Not only that, he lost around 50 pounds and he feels a lot healthier than he ever has. Affirmations work very, very effectively at morning and night times when you enter the alpha brainwave state. And that's when I recommend you doing your vision work, your affirmations, your confirmations, looking for proof, etc. Okay? So alpha brainwave states are a slow enough brainwave state that bridges the conscious and the subconscious. So if you want to access the alpha brainwave state more intentionally, more at will, what I've gone and done is I've made this product called the Millionaire Mind Wave, where we have collected from research into CIA, Gateway Project, and also the Monroe Institute, which has done a research on human brainwave states. What they found is most successful people, they achieve what they want because the two hemispheres of their brain are working in unison. For most people, for you right now, there's a gas on and a brake on at the same time. Just notice this. There's a gas and a brake at the same time. And because you keep pressing on both at the same time, you move one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back. This is happening because you're fighting against yourself. You're fighting against this invisible part of yourself. What if you didn't anymore? Like most successful people, the greatest people who've achieved the most in their lives, there isn't this inner conflict. They have the gas on or they have the brake on, not both at the same time. And this is only achieved through a state of hemispheric synchronization. You synchronize the two parts of your brain to working in unison and you align it towards one goal. And that's why I made Millionaire Mind Wave. You can just click right here to check out the details and how to access it. And I'll see you on the next page. Or you can go to realitycreator.com/mindwave. So click right here to access it or go to realitycreator.com/mindwave and I'll see you there right now. Thanks.